The university hospital loomed before him, its cold, sterile walls rising like a fortress beneath a sky that offered no comfort. Yisak stepped forward, but his body felt disconnected, like a puppet moving without strings. Inside his mind, the doctor's voice echoed again, repeating the cruel verdict. A rare disease, no cure, 6 months. The weight of those words crushed him, pressing into his chest like an iron slab. His name, Yisak, had been rewritten by fate, reduced to a fleeting whisper in time. The world around him continued its relentless march. Strangers brushed past, their faces blurred, indifferent. He was already a ghost, drifting along the edges of existence, unseen, unnoticed. The sharp beep of a crossing signal snapped him out of his daze. The sound was a cruel taunt, reminding him of the years he had spent chasing dreams, believing that hard work would eventually reward him. And now, time mocked him. The reward had come too late. Someone shoved him aside, scolding him for standing in the middle of the road. He barely registered it. What did danger matter to a man already sentenced to die? He dropped to his knees, his fingers curling around the crumpled slip of paper in his palm. The lottery ticket, the symbol of a future filled with possibility, now nothing more than a twisted joke. He had won everything, only to lose the one thing that mattered. A choked sob escaped him, then a desperate scream, raw, primal, torn from his soul. He didn't care if anyone heard. He didn't care if the world kept turning without him. He just needed something, anything, to defy fate. His voice shattered the dusk, a plea carved into the air. Someone, anyone, save me. I don't want to die. Consciousness flooded back, but something was terribly wrong. He wasn't himself, at least, not the him he remembered. He was taller now, thinner, and terrifyingly bald. No, not just bald, skeletal. His bony fingers flexed, his hollow eyes scanned the battlefield, and an unsettling realization dawned upon him. He had become something else. Around him lay the grotesque remains of creatures, monsters that had once fought against him. Their bodies sprawled across the ground, defeated, twisted in unnatural angles. But the battle wasn't over yet. The survivors, those last foolish fiends, were closing in. A grin, stretched wide across his bony face, took shape. He didn't just tolerate the slaughter, he loved it. With each swing of his blade, another beast fell. Every strike felt like poetry, every dodge like a dance. They thought they could win? Oh, how he reveled in their naivety. One final creature lunged at him in desperation. He sidestepped smoothly, his skeletal body moving with an eerie grace. The monster didn't even have time to regret its decision before his blade sliced clean through it. And then, silence. The rebellion was done, over, finished. The last of them lay dead before him. He took in the destruction, the sheer scale of his victory. From being a lowly summon, a basic skeleton with barely enough strength to hold a sword, he had risen, transformed, become something greater. An undead lich, a ruler of demonkind. He had led them out of ruin, given them purpose, and in return, they worshipped him. Or, tried to. Izak, all hail King Izak, they chanted with unwavering devotion. He sighed. He was their king, yes, their almighty, fearsome leader. But, my name is Yisak, he muttered under his breath. Not that it mattered. These fools had mangled his name so many times he had long stopped correcting them. The resentment lingered, but greater desires beckoned him forward. He wasn't meant to be trapped in this skeletal prison. He was supposed to be human, flesh, blood, warmth. He turned away, ignoring their praise. He had no interest in their misguided worship. His mission wasn't to rule. It was to reclaim what was lost. To be able to eat again, to feel pain, to truly live. Yisak dropped the monster's head onto the ground. Silence filled the air. They stared at him, stunned, their expressions frozen in shock. None had expected such a swift, brutal victory. But he did not care for their reactions. His goal lay beyond this moment. His journey had led him here, to the divine realm, a celestial court where beings of immense power ruled over existence itself. Towering figures of godly strength sat upon thrones, their eyes full of judgment, their voices laced with arrogance. He could hear them, the sneers, the taunts that echoed through the grand halls. Yisak stepped forward. He had done what they had asked. He had crushed the rebellious factions, silencing those who dared defy their divine authority. His end of the bargain had been fulfilled, and he had come to claim the reward they had promised. Yet as he moved through the court, whispers slithered through the air. He caught them, murmurs of disdain, hints of surprise at how quickly he had succeeded. But more than that, he heard their treachery. They had no intention of keeping their word. They wanted to bind him, to trap him in eternal servitude. The realization did not shake him. He had expected their deception, but that did not mean he would accept it. He stood before them and demanded what was his, the restoration of his humanity, the return of what had been taken from him. They tried to stall. They spoke of another task, another errand to serve their grand design. Their false offers meant nothing to him. A slow, chilling grin spread across his skeletal face, void of warmth but full of warning. They questioned him, his sanity, his boldness. How could he challenge them? How could he dare to defy gods? They did not understand. He was no ordinary being. He was forged from forbidden arts, free from the natural laws that bound the living and the divine alike. He could not be destroyed. Even here, in their sacred realm, he was a danger. If they would not honor their promise, then they would suffer the consequences. They pleaded, grasping for time, for compromise. They attempted to bargain, throwing out hollow words in desperation, but he did not hear them. For their betrayal, he would exact a heavy price, their lives. With a wicked laugh, he unleashed his fury. A storm of dark energy erupted from his being, consuming the divine court in a relentless wave of destruction. The gods screamed, their voices filled with fear and pain. But he only laughed. Their suffering was his triumph. He had waited for this moment, his revenge against those who had betrayed him. Then, something changed. A strange sensation crept through him, dulling his power. His mana, the very source of his strength, was fading. His movements slowed. His body refused to respond. What was this? A voice rang out, smug and confident. It came from above, from the gods who had set this trap. They revealed the cause of his sudden weakness, a holy artifact inscribed with his name. It had the power to immobilize any being. But there was something else. They did not speak his true name. They spoke of the one written on the artifact, Izak. Before he could react, they invoked the highest-class holy art, banished disaster. He felt it instantly. His demonic essence was being torn from him, sealed away. He will be imprisoned within a lowly insect. Rage filled him. He railed against the injustice, against the humiliation of being trapped in something so weak, so repulsive. How dare they do this to him? Yet even as he fumed, one of the gods spoke, questioning his obsession with his lost hair. It was a simple remark, yet it sparked something within him. And then, despite their efforts to seal him away, despite their certainty that he was powerless, he moved. They watched in disbelief. He could still act. Yisak refused to accept such a humiliating fate. He would not live as a mere insect, trapped in a form so pitiful and weak. If he could not reclaim his humanity, he would rather cease to exist altogether. Summoning the last of his power, he unleashed it in one final act of defiance. His energy erupted in a blinding explosion, shaking the very foundations of the divine court. The force tore through the space around him, consuming everything in its path. Pain surged through him. Everything exploded. The gods, caught in the blast, staggered from the impact. But as the dust settled, they realized their spell had worked. The Demon King's soul remained sealed. He was trapped within the insect. It was done. Relief washed over them. Their power had returned, their authority secure once more. But even in victory, they did not relax. They knew that another threat like Yisak, a skeleton king, could rise again. They could not afford to lower their defenses. So, they devised a plan. A vessel would be created, a saint in the human realm. This chosen one would stand as the ultimate defense against the forces of darkness. The gods would ensure that no demon would ever rise again. As for Yisak, his punishment would be eternal. Trapped in the body of a feeble insect, he would suffer for the rest of time. They had won, and he would pay, forever. Lost in his despair, Yisak found himself in a strange, unfamiliar world. It was bathed in an unnaturally bright light, far different from the darkness he had known before. His brain scrambled for answers. Had the gods finally lost their grip on him? Had he, against all odds, escaped their eternal grasp? Then, a more pressing horror struck him. He had hands, chubby, small human hands. He wiggled his fingers in disbelief. This was all wrong. Just yesterday. Was it yesterday? He had been a walking skeleton, a mere whisper of a being. Now, he was stuck in what appeared to be a child's body, plump and healthy. Was this some cosmic joke? A group of unfamiliar faces loomed over him, their expressions a mix of awe and unsettling joy. "The saint has awakened," they cried, their voices trembling with eerie excitement. Saint? Him? Yisak eyed them warily. Their happiness seemed almost forced, like actors in a play where they'd been handed roles they didn't agree with. Then, it got worse. "You must return to sleep," one of them murmured, the words carrying more weight than they should. Return to sleep? Forever? Yisak suddenly wasn't a fan of naps. Before he could demand an explanation, someone shoved a baby bottle towards him, filled with something suspiciously murky. His pulse quickened. That wasn't a formula. That was doom in a bottle. He stared at them, then at the bottle. Was this supposed to be his grand ending? Again? The man held out the bottle again, his expression unreadable. Yisak felt his pulse quicken. Something was wrong, very wrong. That bottle wasn't just an innocent offer, it was a trap. He dodged it like it was a flaming arrow. His movements were sharp, deliberate. Thought they could trick him into drinking whatever suspicious sleep potion they had brewed up. Did they think he was born yesterday? Actually, given recent events, that wasn't entirely inaccurate. He wouldn't drink it. Not now, not ever. They whispered among themselves, baffled. Why was the child refusing? He was supposed to take the bottle, supposed to drink the potion, supposed to fall into their carefully laid plan. But instead, he was standing there like a defiant cat. Yisak, no, wait. Isaac? That's what they called him. The name tickled something deep in his mind. No, that wasn't it. Idzak. Yes, that was his name, or, well, another way to say it. Yisak, Izak. The difference wasn't much, but it had been enough. When they had cast the spell, banished disaster, he hadn't been sealed because they had written his name the wrong way. Classic villain mistake. If only they had triple-checked their magical paperwork. A rookie error. And now? Now he was alive. Reincarnated into a human body. He had escaped. Their grand plan crumbling before their very eyes. Their target, this surprisingly strong child, was slipping through their fingers. They had failed. And Yisak was free. For now. They shoved the revolting green slop down Isaac's throat. It tasted like betrayal. He tried to resist, but they held him firm, forcing every drop into his mouth. Then, he felt it, a strange sensation creeping through his body. Something unnatural was taking hold. Isaac wasn't sure what was happening, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just any juice. In the grand halls of the Holy Empire Hela, Bishop Martin strutted forward with the confidence of a man who knew something no one else did, or at least thought he did. He dramatically, emphasizing his self-importance as he spoke of a baby, no ordinary infant, but a saint candidate whose time on this earth seemed limited. Then came the emperor himself, Alexander Hela, the man who could silence a room just by existing. His entrance was nothing short of cinematic. If power could take physical form, it would probably look like him. The officials greeted him with the kind of nervous reverence one reserves for someone who could. Martin, ever the dedicated bishop, declared his intention to greet the saint candidate of House Yeshua. Protocol and divine duty demanded it, or at least that was the excuse he gave. The emperor waved away the concern with the ease of a man who knew far more than he let on. His gaze was sharp, full of knowing. Was he suspicious? Did he suspect that something had gone terribly wrong? Then chaos struck. A panicked voice rang through the halls, a maid, nearly tripping over herself in her haste. She gasped, eyes wide in horror and disbelief. "The young master," she shrieked. "He's alive, and oddly energetic?" The officials, the emperor, and the ever-smirking Martin rushed to the source of the disruption. And there was the baby, the very saint candidate whose demise had been all but guaranteed. Except now, instead of being pale and frail, he looked downright adorable. Chubby cheeks, sparkling eyes, a vitality that no one could explain. Martin's smile faltered. This wasn't right. This wasn't possible. It was a lot of vegetable juice, more than anyone should consume, but that wasn't the problem. Martin's heart skipped a beat. That wasn't just juice. It was holy poison. A poison that should have turned the child into a tragic prophecy. A few minutes ago, Isaac had been drinking juice when something strange happened. He felt something enter his body. It wasn't just any ordinary sensation. It was like someone had switched on a power supply inside him. The holy poison meant to destroy the sacred energy of the clergy was now flowing through him, but instead of harm, it brought power. Why? Because this poison was crafted from demonic mana. And for a former demon king? Well, this was basically a free lunch. Deep inside him, the Skeleton King, his past self, was practically blushing with joy. This was incredible. He could eat all the baby food he wanted. The child let out gleeful cries, his demands for more of the deadly juice shocking the onlookers. Instead of stopping him, they happily handed over more. Why not? He seemed fine. As he gulped it down, his body absorbed the mana perfectly, as if this entire situation was a cosmic joke. Now, where to go from here? He had to concentrate. He was drifting through the unconscious world, the deepest depths of his being, his source. He needed to form a mana core, a safe place to store the immense energy he was taking in. He began pulling all the mana together, shaping it into something solid. This was necessary. Without a mana core, he couldn't use magic. But there was one pressing problem. Would this thing explode? Usually mana cores came in 3 primary colors. His, however, was a glaring white. That was unexpected. But color wasn't the real concern. How in the world was this much power fitting into a core that wasn't even fully formed yet? This was beyond anything he had anticipated. The power was enormous. Just how much divine and demonic energy had been stuffed into this tiny body? If he grew up properly, he might become an even bigger monster than he had ever imagined. He felt the force surge inside him, a single word rising to the surface: Isaac. He pointed ahead and uttered a single command: survive. That desperate, unyielding instinct was imprinted deep within his soul, and in the end, that became the true beginning of the Skeleton King. With this surge of energy, he was able to craft his own original buffs and skills, things never seen before, and Isaac, the baby, would inherit them, whether the world was ready or not. That was another matter entirely. They stared at him, waiting, wondering. Was this the moment? Had he finally succumbed? Nope, not even close. Isaac was very much alive and thriving, if his energetic wriggling was anything to go by. His chubby hands reached forward, not for comfort or reassurance, but for more bottles, stronger ones. Whatever unholy juice had turned him into this unstoppable force, he wanted more. And then, there it was. That mischievous smile, that laugh, a little too troubling for a baby. The kind of laugh that sent a chill down spines and raised serious questions about what exactly this tiny menace would grow into. Back in the present, everyone let out a breath. Thankfully, nothing terrible had happened. Sure, Isaac had almost been assassinated, but hey, small victories. He was still sitting there, very much not dead. Martin, however, was staring at him, narrowing his eyes in deep suspicion. Why was the kid looking at him like that? Did he know something? Maybe Isaac had guzzled down too much of that juice, holy poison, miracle elixir, whatever it was, but now was not the time for mistakes. He had to play it cool. Suspicion was dangerous, and Isaac couldn't afford to be caught looking too aware of his own survival. No, he had to do what all brilliant schemers did in moments of tension: smile. A big, dumb, baby smile, as innocent as a cherub, completely clueless, as if he had no idea what was going on. But Martin wasn't fooled. His face twisted in frustration, his anger bubbling over as he glared at Isaac. This bastard, he should be dying, coughing up blood. Except Isaac wasn't dying. He wasn't coughing, choking, gasping for air, or dramatically collapsing like Martin expected. No, instead of fading into oblivion like any normal victim of poisoning, Isaac was laughing. A bright, bubbly, joyous laugh. The sheer audacity of it was maddening. Martin's teeth clenched. This child was an absolute menace. A few days earlier, at the grand headquarters of the Holy See, a man, Ray Barrett, a cardinal with a knack for arrogance, scoffed at the idea of a saint running the Holy Empire. He thought the noble families were annoying, throwing around the title of saint for their children like it meant nothing. A bishop assured him that the other saint candidates were being taken care of. Ray Barrett brought up a troubling rumor. People were saying a saint candidate had appeared from House Yeshua, the emperor's closest ally, the emperor's right hand. There was nothing they could do about it. Ray crushed his wineglass in his hand, spilling dark red liquid everywhere. He didn't care. The saint candidate had probably died before they even arrived, but he had to see the body to be sure. He had acted first to make sure they wouldn't survive. The title of saint could only belong to his House Barrett, and only House Barrett. Martin had been told the baby would be dead, but Isaac was still alive. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was not the plan. The emperor regarded the situation with intrigue, leaned forward, his gaze lingering on the child's radiant platinum blonde hair, a startling resemblance as the Holy Empire's legendary founder. The bishop stepped forward to intervene, but the emperor pressed on, remarking that the child bore an even closer resemblance to divinity than the current pope. Isaac turned his eyes to the emperor. With unwavering certainty, the emperor declared that the child must be the final saint candidate. The revelation struck Isaac. This baby, the one they called saint, was the true candidate. It suddenly made sense. The baby? Of course. That's why everyone kept calling him saint. The emperor's fascination with the child deepened, and the bishop knew he had to act. Martin urgently requested permission to examine the infant, insisting something was amiss. After all, how could a baby possibly consume such an excessive amount of vegetable juice? And yet, wasn't it strange? Saint candidates eating monk food, the demon king himself ending up as a saint candidate? Nothing made sense. It defied reason. Still, Martin was granted permission to inspect the child, at least until someone from House Yeshua arrived. Isaac felt the demonic energy swirling inside him like a bad case of indigestion. Oh no, he burped, loudly. His eyes widened in horror as he snapped his mouth shut. Had anyone noticed? Was he busted? The bishop narrowed his gaze. He had noticed something. He sensed traces of demonic energy coming from the child. How odd. This was no ordinary saint candidate. Was this child a fraud? A fake chosen one bearing manna? The bishop stiffened. This required immediate investigation. Such audacity, to speak of a saint candidate in that manner. Yet, was there any real need for alarm? The Pope had already selected the child from House Barrett, his own bloodline, as the saint. How brazen. The shamelessness. So this was why his motive was to remove the boy from the competition. Martin wasted no time. He ordered the priests to summon an inquisitor. But then, wait. House Yeshua stood as the imperial family's closest ally. The emperor intervened, proposing that the child be re-evaluated at a later time. The bishop frowned. He recalled his conversation with the pope. The investiture ceremony for the crown prince would only happen after the saint selection, a political move. The pope wouldn't officially recognize his own son unless his saint choice was accepted. Was this all part of the Holy See's grand scheme? Isaac had no desire to remain a saint candidate. It was far too dangerous. His true identity was at risk of being exposed. At any moment they could invoke their holy exorcism art to inspect the child. If he were human, he'd remain unharmed. But if he were a demon, extermination would be immediate. He couldn't allow that to happen. He had no choice but to play along. Without hesitation, Isaac struck Martin with a baby bottle. Martin reeled in shock. How could something so simple cause such pain? That light. Was it holy power? The child must truly be the saint. No, it wasn't possible. Yet he could feel it, divine energy radiating from within the child. But this sensation, what was it? It burned. Isaac wasn't about to stop now. He unleashed an onslaught of baby bottles, hurling them at the bishop like divine missiles. Relentless, unstoppable. The bishop staggered back. This was definitely mana. But it wasn't just mana, it was radiant. Brilliant. Almost too powerful to comprehend. Isaac grinned internally. Just a little more, reinforcing the bottle with strengthening magic, preparing for one final strike. He would maintain the facade of an innocent infant while delivering the decisive blow. Surely the bishop must have been marveling at his supposed holy power. What was this? Each time he channeled mana, a faint trace of holy power surfaced alongside it. That wasn't supposed to happen. Mana and holy power were like oil and water, completely incompatible, never meant to coexist. Was this because of that strange white mana core? Something wasn't adding up. The bishop recoiled in horror. He swore on everything sacred. This baby was a heretic. The holy exorcism art must be invoked at once. Isaac narrowed his eyes. You slimy piece of dirt. He hadn't intended to push things this far, but here they were. Then, something caught his attention. Isaac squinted. Oh, you slimy little snake. The bishop was concealing something fascinating. His tiny hands reached forward, diving straight into the bishop's robes. The bishop barely had time to react before Isaac pulled out something very interesting, a totem. The bishop stiffened, stunned by the revelation. This wasn't just any artifact, it was designed to mimic the nature of demons, who consumed the corpses of their own kind to absorb their mana. A sealed high-ranking demon's remains. A totem. The bishop carried it always, a safeguard against demons should he ever cross paths with one. But how? How had this infant uncovered his secret? Panic took hold. The bishop tried to flee. Isaac could hardly believe it. Isaac wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. With a flick of his wrist he chucked the totem onto the floor, letting it clatter loudly. This was the consequence of Martin's relentless pursuit. With a snap of his fingers, demonic energy surged, chaos erupted. The room filled with screams as a massive demonic beast clawed its way into existence, its presence drowning the air in dark energy. Isaac smirked, crossing his little baby arms. Parry this, you filthy casual. The Emperor's gaze hardened as he leveled his accusation against Bishop Martin Barrett, questioning his sanity for allowing a demon to rampage within the sacred temple walls. The bishop, scrambling for defense, insisted that the baby had thrown the totem, the artifact meant to seal the beast. Yet how had the creature come back to life? The Emperor wasted no time. He commanded all forces to protect the young lord, shielding him from both the wicked demon and the bishop. Martin stood frozen, overwhelmed by shock and confusion. Isaac let out a sinister laugh, his expression sharp with amusement. "Joke's on you, fool," he sneered. He was eager to see just how capable the bishop really was. Then, the demon roared into existence, its command clear: kill the saint. He had literally saved this thing's life, and it was still trying to kill him? Ungrateful much? The knights rushed forward, forming a defensive line around Isaac. What was this demon's problem? It kept shrieking about some captured king. The paladin should be able to handle this, right? Right? Wrong. The paladins struggled. Hard. They faltered, unable to withstand the sheer power of the creature. Was the knight truly a paladin? The demon pressed on with its assault, urging them to rescue the captured king. Isaac knew he had to act. If he subdued the beast, no one would question him using magic in the chaos. And honestly, what was with everyone trying to kill him in this life? Even after he had revived it, was this destiny forcing its hand? Could he truly be the skeleton king? With an unexpected burst of power, Isaac subdued the rampaging demon. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He had done it. But how? He was just as perplexed as they were. Holy energy radiated from his touch, pushing back the beast. The Emperor's astonishment was evident. Holy power, Unmistakable. The demon recoiled, seeking escape, its very essence repelled by divine energy. Young Lord Isaac had forced out a greater demon. It was remarkable for someone so young. As expected of him, this had to be holy power. Yet Isaac's thoughts churned with uncertainty. His mana was depleted, so how had he accomplished this? Was his strange body converting mana into holy power? If that were the case, how could he possibly replenish his mana when the Holy Empire lacked it? Martin was seized. He was warned, his actions would not go unpunished. That baby had wielded the power of demonkind, and yet he dared to stand within the Holy Empire? The bishop vowed to prove his suspicions to the emperor, to uncover the child's true identity through an exorcism. That's enough, the emperor declared, his voice cutting through the room with finality. How dare the bishop falsely accuse an innocent saint candidate while unleashing a greater demon before the imperial knights? The emperor would not let this slide, not even for the Holy See. If his suspicions deepened, the infiltrator would soon be exposed, and if that happened, the Holy See itself would be in jeopardy. Responsibility had to be taken, even if it meant death for the bishop. That was why he had to eliminate the saint candidate from House Yeshua. Finally, the bishop revealed his true colors. Did he really believe he could kill Isaac so easily? But, wait, Isaac had no mana left. Martin's wolf-like creature lunged. It was swiftly cut down. Then a voice rang out, strong and unyielding. Who dares lay a hand on the direct lineage of Yeshua? The sound of clashing swords erupted. Blue Faith had arrived, the knights of House Yeshua. At their head stood Riley, the seventh son of House Yeshua. Without hesitation, he ordered the immediate execution of the bishop. Martin struggled against the knights, his voice sharp with rage. Unhand me, do not lay your filthy Yeshua hands on me. Isaac stilled at the name, Yeshua. It felt strangely familiar. Riley turned to his knights, commanding them to show proper manners. Greetings to the young master of House Yeshua. He bowed before Isaac, offering his apologies for arriving late. Isaac observed them and commented, finally, someone competent. They were better than the Imperial Knights. It isn't much, Riley said, but we brought a small gift. Isaac's thoughts raced. Gold? A gold bar? Surely it had to be gold. No. It was a figurine. A figurine of the Skeleton King being beheaded. Isaac stared at it, horrified. Then they pulled out another one, a depiction of the Skeleton King being burned alive. And yet another, one where the Saintess crushed the Skeleton King beneath her heel. The knights beamed at him, their admiration clear. The young master is adorable. So adorable. Isaac's mind reeled. How was he supposed to survive in a household as utterly insane as this? The knights teased him, delighted with his expression. And to his horror, the young master liked it. He liked it so much that he began to cry. They marveled at the young lord's delight, his cries echoing his joy as he clutched the figurine. How was he supposed to survive in this chaotic family? Isaac recalled the name Yeshua, the saintess who had once come to end him in a past life. The 45 Saintess Yeshua, the 61 as Saint Yeshua, they all carried some form of the name. Not only was he a saint candidate, but he was also part of the saint family. What sins had he committed in his past life to deserve this? Damn these people. Martin accused the house of Yeshua of heresy for bringing a creature into the temple. He was convinced they had smuggled a monstrous creature into the temple, referring to Isaac, of course. What an honor. Yeshua has gone mad, he shouted, practically foaming at the mouth. This will be the end of the Yeshua bloodline. Riley struck Martin down, warning him to be grateful for Yeshua's mercy, for sparing his neck after such foolish words. Isaac mused on Riley's usefulness. Riley had efficiently dispatched Martin simply because he had insulted the family. Did he have the confidence to take on the Holy See? The knights, ever dedicated to their jobs, leaned in and whispered to the young lord, "Best to only hear and see good things, little one." Isaac's memories sharpened. The Blue Faith. They were formidable. His subordinates always panicked when they saw the blue ones. The Skeleton King's neck drop was rumored to be a thing of legend. Isaac briefly considered telling them to stop teasing him about it already. It seemed the emperor owed the child a debt. Alexander asked if they could inform the head of Yeshua that the imperial palace wished to raise the child. His jokes were too much, Riley muttered. Was Isaac being scouted by the imperial palace? The emperor explained the Holy Empire would inevitably target the child, both internally and externally. While Yeshua was powerful, could the present Blue Faith protect the child? Isaac listened. What was he talking about? The emperor continued, especially the pope, who would disapprove. The child's hair color bore significance, symbolizing the ancestors of the Holy Empire, and the Skeleton King seemed to be after him. Isaac squinted. But I am the Skeleton King. Why would I be after myself? Riley apologized to the emperor, insisting that the child, as a Yeshua, must be raised by Yeshua. The pope, the Skeleton King, Yeshua could handle them. If they ever crossed paths with the Skeleton King again, the previous Saintess, Melissa, would be pleased. How could he allow the direct descendant of Saintess Melissa to be taken by the Imperial Palace? Wait, Melissa. The Melissa he fought before entering the Divine Realm, the lunatic Saintess, the hardest opponent. So he was born into the Saintess family, a saint candidate, and now, Melissa's direct descendant. Isaac groaned internally. This kept getting worse. What was a saint, or a saintess? The gods, desperate to defeat the Skeleton King, had crafted their final weapon, a saint, the embodiment of divine will to vanquish evil, a battlefield lion, a wielder of holy light. The Holy Empire's brightest star, the highest-ranking knight. The saintess was so powerful that people believed the Skeleton King's days were numbered. Her abilities rivaled the gods. She had cockroach-tier survival abilities. She self-destructed if necessary. She grew stronger with each generation. She was a goddess of beauty. She lived unnaturally long. But the Skeleton King was merciless. He had never killed a saint, not out of kindness, but because it wasn't worth the hassle. The moment a saint perished, the gods simply sent an updated, more infuriating version. But Melissa, the last saintess, she was terrifying. He had nearly died, and she was his ancestor. Riley smiled. The saints live only to destroy the Skeleton King. Yeshua produces the saintesses and fulfills the will of the gods. They are a proud family. Yeshua has the power to protect this child. He was right. Many saints had been martyred by the Skeleton King. Isaac hadn't slain a single one. There was an unfortunate history here. The Skeleton King, him, had banished a saint once, not because she wasn't strong enough, but because she kept getting lost. Was it his fault she was bad with directions? 5 had died from stress-related illnesses. Maybe they should have visited a healer. Riley assured Isaac, "It's okay. They were grateful you were born. They only wished one thing, that you wouldn't grow up like the terrible Skeleton King." Ah, the irony. Parents he had never known. He regretted being a bad person. The Emperor urged him to reconsider. It had been 150 years since the Skeleton King had been sealed away. Had it really been that long? In that case, Melissa should have died ages ago. She was 50 during their last fight. Then again, considering her sheer willpower, maybe not. Meanwhile, demons had grown stronger. The saint was a vital asset to the Holy Empire, a force to strengthen its power. Isaac himself was significant to the Imperial Palace. Besides, there was no active saint in Yeshua. It had been a year since the saintess gave birth to Isaac and vanished alongside his father. His mother was a saintess. Isaac gasped. Riley responded to the Emperor, "That may be so, but the matriarch still lives. Yeshua will protect the child." All right, let's get all the surprises out now, Isaac thought. Nothing could shock him more than learning his mother was a saint. Dame Melissa was hunting the Skeleton King's subordinates. She would return soon. The matriarch was expecting her grandson. But there was one lingering problem. Melissa was still alive. A woman over 200 years old, fueled by sheer battle instincts. Surely she had some level of regret, some desire to retire? It would take time for her return. Isaac felt off. Was he okay? Would he be fine knowing his greatest enemy still lived? If Melissa discovered the truth, she would smite him instantly. Others might hesitate, but Melissa, she was too dangerous. So, to survive, he would go with them. Isaac clutched Alexander's finger. He wanted to go to the Imperial Palace. But he's just being clingy, Riley scoffed. The Imperial Palace could provide much for the young lord. Yeshua had experience producing saints, but not raising one, a baby saint. This child was destined to be an exorcist knight, a vanquisher of evil. Yeshua had produced the greatest exorcist knights. He was the first ever saint, but the Imperial Palace lacked experience too. Emperor Alexander declared, "The Imperial Palace is better." Riley countered, "He will remain in Yeshua." Alexander and Riley clasped hands. Isaac stuck between them. They were warned to settle down, or risk tearing the young lord in half. Isaac wanted to go to the Imperial Palace. He didn't want to die. And the light tied to survival's essence, it had come from the Emperor all along. His best chance was with the Emperor. He couldn't miss this opportunity. The Emperor praised him. "A wise choice, young lord." Isaac marveled. What was this? Then came Martin, ever the problem. That thing used mana, referring to Isaac. It is clearly a spawn of demons. A cloaked man sneered. "Holy power comes from the gods themselves. Are you claiming the gods gifted their sacred power to a mere demon?" A sword appeared. Martin flinched. It was mana. How had he mistaken it for holy power? "The holy city calls that kind of talk." The man struck Martin. Martin shrieked, "Your Eminence." "That's blasphemy." The conspirators whispered among themselves, recognizing the Emperor's claim over the child. They would bide their time, waiting for an opportunity within the royal palace. They were certain the child wouldn't survive. Isaac, oblivious to it all, lay peacefully, unaware of the danger, until he suddenly stirred, sensing something was terribly wrong. Isaac had made up his mind. He knew he had to go to Yeshua. No debates, no negotiations, just pure survival instinct. A carriage sped through the roads, its wheels kicking up dust as it raced toward its destination. The conspirators, caught off guard, murmured about the abrupt change in plans. A flashback revealed the cause, a brilliant light bursting forth from Isaac's room just days prior. In that moment, the Emperor had cradled Isaac in his arms, commenting on the sheer intensity of the light. He insisted that Yeshua was no place to raise a child. Riley, however, disagreed, claiming that their house wasn't just a sanctuary for manacores, it was the closest to demons. Isaac pondered whether the origin of survival was shining, their most valued possession. His eyes widened as he realized what they held. The body of the Skeleton King, his former body. How had they come to possess it? Of all the topics to discuss, was this truly the first priority? Testing his ability to communicate, Isaac voiced his unwavering desire to go to Yeshua. Riley, startled but pleased, repeated his name. Meanwhile, Isaac was doing some mental gymnastics. This journey was an opportunity. If Yeshua had his old body, he had a chance to reclaim it, and once he did, he'd be unstoppable. That body had accumulated enough mana to fight against the gods. Yes, following his uncle to Yeshua was, unquestionably, the best move for survival. As the carriage thundered forward, Riley and the Paladin discussed why the Holy See remained relentless in its pursuit of Isaac. Riley explained, "The gods gave a prophecy. The saint will be taken in as the son of a god. He's destined to become the next pope." That explained everything. House Barrett had spent years, generations, trying to birth a saint to secure the pope's position. The pope was no ordinary cleric. The pope wielded rank 10 holy spells. He was, essentially, the supreme king of all clerics and paladins. House Barrett had been producing popes for thousands of years, and now, thanks to the prophecy, that position was being handed over to a saint, Isaac. House Barrett was furious, naturally. And they weren't the only ones. Other noble houses had also been scrambling to produce a saint. Upon reaching the mansion, they were met with unexpected resistance. Guards blocked their path, their expressions tense. Though they recognized the crest of House Yeshua, they refused to let them pass. A high-ranking official soon arrived, his presence casting a long shadow. He revealed a chilling truth: they intended to eliminate the child who bore the blood of the saints. Before anyone could react, the guards twisted, contorted, then transformed. They were no longer human, they were demons, and they were attacking. Isaac's mind raced. Could this be the work of a new demon king? The ban on attacking human territories was still in effect. Was it being ignored? The demons snarled, proclaiming their glorious king's command: all saints and saintesses must be killed. A new demon king had indeed emerged, one following the orders of the great skeleton king, Lord Izak. Their mission? Destroy the saint. Isaac froze, bewildered by the revelation. Why was his name spoken among them? What was happening? The demons made their final offer: surrender the child, and their lives would be spared. Riley answered with steel. His blade struck a demon down, but another scoffed at his defiance. Riley, ever the resolute knight of Yeshua, vowed they would not perish so easily, not after hearing such blasphemy. He rallied his troops, his voice booming with conviction. Yeshua would purge this evil. They would chase the demons into the depths of hell, erasing them from existence, including the Skeleton King, who doomed his followers simply to evade mortality. One demon sneered, hurling insults at the Skeleton King. A knight lunged but narrowly missed, apologizing to the young master for his failure. Isaac, thoroughly perplexed, wondered who was impersonating him. A paladin swiftly retreated with Isaac, instructing him to wait. He conjured a formidable barrier, strong enough to withstand even the mightiest demons. But Isaac soon realized the flaw. Nothing inside could escape. He activated his survival origin, unleashing his magic. He needed help. He called upon the Observing One, desperate for an answer. A presence stirred. The entity responded eagerly, its voice ringing through his mind. Isaac exhaled in relief. He had feared the worst. The Observing One introduced itself as Ascension Detection Magic, designed for rapid enemy tracking without disrupting battle. It marveled at Isaac's cunning, congratulating him for stealing the body of a child. Isaac, irritated, brushed off the remark and demanded it focus on locating threats. At once, the Observing One scanned a 100-meter radius. It reported 88 enemies, all demons, yet it assured Isaac none could touch him. Isaac was floored by the sheer number. He braced himself. If necessary, he would burn through every last ounce of mana he had hoarded over the years. This battle would decide everything. The enemy count was plummeting. First 51, then 31, then 13. Riley caught movement. He ordered a defensive formation. The number dwindled, 4 remained. One demon urged his ally to fight, their goal unchanged: kill the saint. The demon roared, "Glory to the Skeleton King." A lich turned against them, striking down another demon. The paladins gasped at the unexpected betrayal. The observing one gleefully reported, "Enemy forces have been eradicated." Isaac blinked. Wait, what? Who's killing them? Then, it detected something else. Then, out of the darkness, a voice thundered, "Who dares to touch my king?" The Shadow Lich had arrived. Isaac, stunned beyond words, struggled to grasp what had just transpired. A Shadow Lich emerged, addressing the infant Isaac as its king and master, its voice laced with reverence and fury. How could anyone dare imprison him within a child's frail body? The Lich's devotion was as twisted as it was absolute. It had been freed long ago, and for that, it had sworn eternal loyalty to Isaac. Unfortunately, eternal loyalty looked a lot like aggressive threats to the paladins, spewing threats in a language they could not understand. Confusion clouded their faces, but Isaac understood. The Lich recognized him as the Skeleton King. The observing one marveled at such unwavering loyalty. Riley immediately ordered his knights to ready themselves, but Isaac halted, warning of the Lich's unexpected arrival. His focus, however, remained on something far more pressing, his food, the concentrated mana source crucial to his survival. The paladin urged patience, promising swift resolution. The Lich reveled in the recognition from its master, while the paladin observed its sinister intent. The Lich took a step closer, its movements deliberate, its gaze locked onto Isaac. It delighted in having caught his attention. The Lich ignored them entirely. It basked in the joy of finally gaining Isaac's attention. Isaac, however, was busy panicking about his mana core. If he didn't break the barrier soon, things would spiral out of control. "Break it," he ordered. The Lich didn't hesitate. It shattered the barrier with terrifying ease. The paladins took a collective step back. Did it just? They recognized the technique. Totemization. Riley, wide-eyed, wondered aloud. Had Isaac just totemized a demon? The paladin holding Isaac confirmed his astonishment. They debated the nature of the phenomenon, convinced Isaac had used a holy art reserved for saints and cardinals. Isaac, however, denied it. It wasn't holiness, merely mana. Still, the resemblance to totemization was undeniable. For a child capable of such an advanced technique to lack any holy power was unusual. The paladin holding Isaac remarked that people often shone brightest when faced with peril. He noted how the demon had instinctively targeted Isaac, sensing him as the greatest threat. His certainty deepened. Isaac was the saint. Riley admitted that the demons had come for the boy. Whether or not he was truly the saint, Isaac was undeniably special. His mind drifted to another thought. Why was Isaac trapped in the body of a child? He began explaining the Skeleton King's curse upon the men of House Yeshua, but his words were cut short. The captain of the Blue stepped forward, declaring his commitment to protecting Isaac, the future of House Yeshua. The perspective shifted. Riley was deep in thought. Why had they feared the Skeleton King's curse when this child had the power to elevate Yeshua? The child could elevate Yeshua to new heights. Determined, he scooped Isaac into his arms, promising to teach him well, to raise him into a formidable paladin. But Isaac remained indifferent. His only goal was reclaiming his original body. Riley vowed to find a way to save Isaac, even if his fate was destined to be brief. He swore that Isaac's name would echo across the continent. Isaac stiffened at the mention of his short life. Riley, oblivious, pledged to teach Isaac how to curse the Skeleton King once they returned home. Isaac sighed, exasperated. They arrived at Yeshua Mansion, an extravagant, absurdly wealthy estate. Isaac's eyes widened in disbelief. Compared to his own castle and dwindling resources, this was overwhelming. He lamented how he had always been forced to be frugal to keep his people fed. The observing one agreed, pointing out that selling just a few of the statues here could easily fund 10 new castles. Riley led Isaac through the halls, proudly introducing the Yeshua Mansion, the birthplace of exorcism on the continent. He gestured toward the statues lining the corridors, each depicting warriors battling the Skeleton King. He told Isaac that one day, he too would become like them. Isaac was horrified. The mansion reeked of anti-Skeleton King propaganda, ingrained in the minds of children from birth. He decided, right then and there, that he would join the Holy Empire, make the Emperor his puppet, and rebrand everything as the Isaac Empire. The observing one mocked him for his pettiness. Ignoring the jab, Isaac ordered it to continue scouting. Observing one obediently resumed scanning. They admired the vast collection of mana cores displayed throughout the mansion. Isaac stared in shock. How many demons had been slain to amass such a horde? At last, they reached their destination. Riley instructed his attendants to prepare his room, intending for Isaac to stay with him, but he was met with resistance. Orders had come down. Isaac was to be taken to the annex. Riley bristled with anger. The fifth young master had decreed that Isaac was forbidden from entering the main building. Why should the boy be sent to the cursed wing, where people perished? He recognized the truth. This was nothing but petty family politics. Isaac, unbothered, dismissed the matter. Why stay in the annex when he could reside in the grand mansion? The observing one noted that the mana cores were concentrated in the annex. Riley refused to let his nephew be relegated to a ghost house. He ordered the guards to stand aside. He swore he would read Isaac bedtime stories, tales of saints battling the Skeleton King, and teach him exorcism spells designed to eradicate the foul creature. Isaac paled at the idea of being exorcised. A sudden interruption shattered the tense moment. The fifth son of House Yeshua, Joey, had arrived. His voice rang with authority. He had commanded that the child be sent to the annex. He leveled a sharp glare at Riley, demanding an explanation for his insubordination. Isaac took one look at him and muttered under his breath, "Thug." Joey commands Riley to put Isaac down and send him to the annex, as if it were some abyss of doom. Riley, stunned, challenges the order, questioning whether Joey is truly serious about banishing a direct descendant of House Yeshua. Isaac, unimpressed, silently concludes that this fool, Joey, simply doesn't want him in the house. Isaac demands to be released, insisting he'd rather go to the annex than endure a reading of the exorcism ritual of the Skeleton King. Joey ridicules the paladin for bringing in someone filthier than the Skeleton King himself, ranting about bloodlines. Isaac, bewildered, wonders if this cleric is merely a thug before deciding to ignore him entirely and head to the annex, intent on draining the mana core before anyone could bother him further. Riley, however, perceives a deeper scheme, an attempt to brand Isaac as cursed and strip him of his place in the succession race. The realization startles Isaac. He hadn't thought about that. Maybe House Yeshua was more valuable than he'd realized. If he truly wanted revenge against the gods, rising to saint and eventually pope was necessary. Riley, meanwhile, was getting accused of conspiring against him. Apparently, demon sightings had fueled the rumors of Isaac's alleged curse. A paladin defends Isaac, asserting that he exorcised the demons and wields the holy power of a saint. Joey scoffs, challenging them to have Isaac prove his worth if they truly believe in his divinity. Observing one casually suggests summoning a meteor, prompting an exasperated Isaac to shut the idea down. Unfazed, Joey presents a test. Isaac must revive the sacred symbol of the house, a divine tree that withered after being tainted by demonic essence. If Isaac is a genuine saint candidate, restoring it should be effortless. Riley balks at the absurdity of the request, while Isaac briefly ponders Melissa's children, the missing eldest and the second son. He's suddenly startled when observing one speaks, only to watch as it abruptly throws the observing one toward the lifeless tree. The act stuns everyone. Riley points out that fewer than 70 years have passed since the tree's demise, yet Joey expects a mere child to resurrect it. Except, the tree did revive, right before their eyes. It was like someone had slapped life back into its branches. What was once a husk of death now stands vibrant and flourishing. The paladin, astounded, attributes the miracle to Isaac. Joey remains unconvinced, arguing that even the head of the house has grieved over the tree's demise. Lacking definitive proof, he dismisses the celebration. The paladins, however, insist Isaac performed an exorcism and purification, though Joey rejects their claims. Isaac, through observing one, clarifies that he merely drained the demon's remnants from the tree's roots. He grimaces at having consumed the mana, while observing one demands he expel it immediately. A paladin inquires about the tree's revival, but Riley denies having done anything. The paladins, fully convinced of Isaac's divine power, rejoice, while Joey refuses to accept the idea. He accuses the paladin of scheming to push Isaac forward as the saint candidate, questioning the existence of another contender within the house. Joey erupts in fury. "You had the saint as help you, then you made it look like this child did it." Riley snaps back. "What nonsense are you spewing?" Isaac, inwardly, wonders if Melissa can confirm Joey's supposed connection to the saintess, noticing a lack of resemblance. The situation escalates when Joey offhandedly suggests selling Isaac to further their bloodline, only to be met with a furious punch from Riley. Isaac muses that brothers grow through conflict. He realizes he's gathered valuable intel and takes comfort in knowing the family isn't tightly bound, making his eventual takeover all the easier. His ultimate goal remains to bring the house to ruin. Observing one questions the logic, pointing out that the house's destruction would impact Isaac as well. Isaac remains resolute. The scene shifts to a council meeting, centered on the birth of a new child. Hannah, the second wife of Yeshua and current acting head of the house, silences the room before addressing Riley. She demands an explanation. Why did Riley bring Isaac into the main family when the branch family had agreed to care for him? Isaac pieced it together. Hannah wanted him gone. He glanced toward Joey, who helpfully pointed out that the acting head of the house was still waiting for an answer. It is then revealed that Isaac's father has abandoned his position and disappeared. Hannah laments the increasing turbulence surrounding the saint candidates. Riley, visibly uneasy, admits his regret before revealing Isaac's miraculous revival of the divine tree. Joey scoffs, attributing it to mere coincidence. Perhaps long-awaited prayers had finally borne fruit. An elderly woman remarks that even the house's most learned scholars had failed to restore the tree, questioning how a mere child could succeed where they had not. Hannah agrees, citing a lack of verifiable evidence. Isaac, calmly assessing the skepticism, offers to provide proof, stunning the council members. Isaac casually channeled the tree's energy into a crystal, a tangible testament to his undeniable connection with the sacred power, watching their stunned expressions with thinly veiled amusement. Now this was more like it. The council members are stunned to discover that Isaac has eradicated the mana corrupting the divine tree. The notion that a mere newborn accomplished such a feat seems impossible, yet the undeniable truth lies before them: the mana was vanquished right in their presence. The exorcism art required to save the tree was no joke, yet here they were, questioning their life choices because an infant pulled it off like it was nap time. Joey remains doubtful, unable to accept that an infant could wield such extraordinary power. Riley, however, defends Isaac, asserting that he simply acted on instinct, channeling his abilities to purge the mana. He underscores the remarkable nature of the event. Isaac succeeded in mere moments, where House Yeshua had struggled and failed for 70 years. The math wasn't mathing for Joey, though. He thought the whole thing was so ridiculous that the house would become a laughingstock. Then, to top it off, he made a bold accusation. What if Isaac wasn't even a real Yeshua? What if he was the child of some random beggar? Riley counters, boldly predicting that Isaac will grow to become the saint and possibly even the future pope. Isaac, meanwhile, was just sitting there, silently nodding along. Riley then makes an audacious proclamation: Isaac will one day slay the Skeleton King. The declaration sparks outrage, with Hannah accusing Riley of signing his own death sentence. She suggests putting Isaac's abilities to the test. And what better way to do that than to grab something from the legendary treasury of holy artifacts? The scene transitions to the dark forest, northwest of the Holy Empire of Hela, where a man battles demons, dismissing the task as a meaningless chore. A knight approaches Eli Yeshua, the head of House Yeshua. Eli inquires about the situation, and the knight explains that Hannah, the acting head, has requested permission to enter the treasury of holy artifacts. Stressing that the request does not concern the Holy See, he reveals that Eli's grandson, Isaac, has revived the divine tree, prompting Hannah to seek verification of his status as the saint. Eli questions the possibility of a saint emerging from his house, refusing entry to anyone aside from the saintess candidate. He warns the paladin against needless infighting. A woman then speaks in favor of allowing the test, revealing herself as Melissa Yeshua, the matriarch of House Yeshua and a former saintess. She acknowledges Isaac's potential and suggests evaluating all saint candidates within the treasury. Though she concedes that a child from another house may claim the most powerful artifact, she longs for such an outcome. Even the greatest saintess in history failed to secure the artifact for themselves, and Melissa believes it could be crucial in locating and destroying the Skeleton King. If someone managed to bring it out, though, she was ready to shower them with prizes, stuff so valuable, even the Pope would get jealous. Alongside the saint's heirloom and secret techniques, she vows to relinquish all to the child who prevails. The treasury of holy artifacts is a sacred vault, holding invaluable relics and ancient techniques for millennia. Traditionally overseen by the saintess, it has long been regarded as the rightful domain of House Yeshua. Only children under 10 may enter, and it once served as the site of the first birthday ritual for saintess candidates. Their potential was foretold by the artifact they retrieved from within. However, the treasury is perilous. Even saintess candidates often perished within its depths. After countless deaths and losses, the treasury was eventually sealed. The observing one conveys its intrigue, and Isaac shares in its excitement, eager to uncover the Skeleton King's remains within the treasury. A paladin notices Isaac's enthusiasm and informs him that the matriarch has granted entry to all saint candidates. He reveals that the heirs of all 5 great houses will be present, including that of the corrupt pope. Isaac sees this as a golden opportunity to reclaim his body without drawing too much attention, as the observers will be focused on multiple candidates. Riley warned Isaac about the dangers. The treasury had captured demons guarding it, leftovers from the war. Isaac dismissed the warning entirely, reasoning that any demons held captive must be weak. He declares that even rank 8 demons would pose little challenge. Their shock is palpable when they discover that a rank 8 demon and a rank 9 dragon reside within. Isaac and the observing one are alarmed. Why would a dragon be stationed at a site meant for a newborn's first ritual? The observing one reminds Isaac that his knowledge of dragons should aid him, yet Isaac is overwhelmed with dread. He had been scamming dragons for years. If the treasury was filled with them, odds were good that they were the exact dragons he had tricked. Probably 70 of them. The observing one pieces it together. These are dragons Isaac had swindled in the past. Isaac realized there was only one way out of this mess. He would sneak into the annex and steal all of House Yeshua's war spoils. If he wanted to survive the rank 8 demons and the angry rank 9 dragon, he needed mana cores. Lots of them. All of them. He was going full heist mode. The scene unfolds within the grand, opulent annex of House Yeshua, where Isaac sits on the floor, engrossed in Book of Holy Arts, 10 Ways to Take Apart the Skeleton King. The observing one leans over, concern painted on his face, remarking that Isaac looks on the verge of being exorcised. Isaac laments his struggle, convinced that mastering holy power first will allow him to wield holy arts with ease. The observing one cheekily suggests using mind control to force a lesson out of them, but Isaac quickly dismisses anything that might get him labeled as a demon or destroy the Yeshua family's reputation. Theory alone is proving to be painfully ineffective, and frustration mounts. Riley enters to fetch Isaac, commenting on his exhausted state. Isaac grumbles about needing more sleep at his age, while a nearby paladin picks up his book. Without hesitation, Riley applies a recovery holy art on Isaac, much to his delight. Feeling energized, Isaac eagerly asks Riley to demonstrate some attack arts next, only to be interrupted by the observing one, who reminds him that they need to head to the other building. Feigning sleep, Isaac fools the adults, who marvel at how quickly he drifts off. As they depart, the observing one remarks on Isaac's exceptional family, while Isaac mourns the loss of his totem. Riley advises the paladin to store the artifact somewhere secure, acknowledging that it's Isaac's first creation. Frustrated, Isaac complains about the hassle of reviving it, but Riley is more concerned with finding the perfect place to display it. Determined to extract its mana core dry, Isaac prepares to leave the annex with the observing one, who warns him they won't reach their destination until the next day if he insists on crawling. Isaac devises a plan, instructing the observing one to open the door, only to find that Uncle Riley has sealed it with a holy art. Frustrated, Isaac considers breaking through, but the observing one warns that such a move would be mistaken for an attack, causing immediate chaos. Isaac hesitates to use magic, unwilling to lose control, and struggles to find a way out. Before Isaac can settle on an escape strategy, the door unexpectedly opens. Standing there is Shuri, the son of Joey and a saint candidate of the Yeshua family. At 15 years old, Shuri is both shocked and horrified to see that his supposed rival is a baby who can't even walk. The observing one, equally surprised, notes that Isaac looks injured. Shuri, fueled by arrogance, refuses to believe that Isaac could have possibly created a totem, something even he himself has failed to accomplish. To assert dominance, he presents a glowing artifact and proclaims himself the future saint. Without warning, he launches a holy mana attack at Isaac, but Isaac effortlessly deflects it, shocking Shuri. In retaliation, Isaac playfully smacks Shuri with a toy, provoking outrage. Shuri accuses him of channeling holy power for aggression, but Isaac counters swiftly, knocking him to the ground. The observing one praises Isaac's precision, and Isaac promptly commands Shuri to become his steed. Still determined to prove his superiority, Shuri prepares a rank 3 holy defense art, boasting that he alone can use it at his age. He follows up with Holy Light, a rank 3 holy attack, but Isaac absorbs it effortlessly, sarcastically thanking Shuri for the meal. Shuri stares in disbelief at Isaac's formidable holy defense. Isaac explains that he absorbed the attack purely because Riley never bothered to teach him how to wield it. Another strike lands on Shuri, prompting the observing one to question whether it's truly acceptable to harm a direct family member. Isaac brushes off the concern, arguing that none of the attacks actually hit him anyway. He advises Shuri to quit startling him if he can't land a proper hit. Determined to prove himself, Shuri refuses to back down, convinced that Isaac cannot best a saint candidate in holy arts. However, his resolve crumbles when the Shadow Lich intervenes, demanding an explanation for Shuri's reckless actions. Shuri shrinks under its gaze, trembling, and in an instant, all of his arrogance evaporates. Meanwhile, Isaac, thoroughly amused by the entire ordeal, decides he's wasted enough time. He turns to Shuri, fully expecting him to serve as his personal transportation. After all, it's only fair.